was 19, I got two brilliant pieces of advice. The first came from a brave girlfriend, and it was confronting and personal, and I'll get back to it later. The second came from a wise older woman. She understood that people can be created or destroyed by words, and she told me that fidelity was more than just sexual, that faithfulness is also having your partner's back in all that you say about them. And she taught me that my words about my man, what I said behind his back, but especially what I said in front of him in public, could help shape the kind of guy that he became. Now, my man and I, we'd met unintentionally. I'd been visiting his parents' house, and I was limping across the front lawn when his dad came out toward me and inquired, "Oh, my dear, what happened to you?" And I, never one to mince my words, said, "I got drunk and fell in a hole." They were not impressed. But somebody was. He'd been under his beat-up station wagon working when he first heard my voice, and he came out quite quickly because he wanted to see who'd spoken to his conservative parents like that. And as he stood up, our eyes met and something happened. His parents, they just saw in me a hippie, a slut, a druggie, and a danger to their son. He saw in me an honest answer, courage and integrity. At the time, all I saw in him was a hot guy, a conquest, a passing fancy, and pass our fancy we did. Quite often, sometimes in the back of the station wagon. And in time, as certain things became apparent, he dropped sweetly to his knee and proposed to me. And I answered, he probably wasn't thrilled, "Oh, fuck off, don't be ridiculous." You see, I wasn't interested in long term. I'd been betrayed by boys again and again, heartbreak, rejection, incest, two really violent rapes. I didn't have any trust, and my heart was so broken that the pieces were everywhere. I didn't even bother trying to clean them up anymore, so marriage, I just couldn't even imagine it. It was the weirdest idea. I think probably the very last thing that might ever have occurred to me at that age was settling down in suburbia. So I decided to take my dilemma to my aforementioned girlfriend. "That idiot asked me to marry him," I complained to her. I think I was hoping for a bit of sympathy, comfort, support, something. I should have known better because she was like me. She didn't mince her words either. And this was her advice. "You're the idiot. You're stupid if you don't marry him. You'll never get another offer like this one. He would look after you every day of your life, and Toni, you've got to face it. You're not much of a catch." It was really brutal advice. But somehow, even at 19, I understood that she said something really important to me. And so we married against everyone's, just their cries of dismay. His parents, "She's not coming into this house." My parents, "He's too good for you." Wedding guest, "We'll give it 6 months." People laid bets on how long this unlikely union would last. When we married, we lived in public housing, this very one in Canberra. He earned $75 a week, and he came home from work each day to my chaos, inner and outer. I wanted to pick fights. This was crazy. What did we think we were doing? He'd just laugh and kiss me till I smiled. And it's hard to fight with that. It's hard to argue with grace. He'd notice what little I did do. "You cleaned the toilet, you're amazing." And he overlooked all the rest. And over the years, these kind, generous, optimistic words kept coming, piecing me back together. "You're special, you're beautiful, you take action, you do what's right, you speak the truth, you help people." Yet still it took a full 15 years before I finally understood, or began to understand, that he'd married me not because I was pregnant and he had to, or because he was a good man doing the right thing, which is what I believed. He married me because, unbelievably, he loved me. He adored me. And that was incredible to me. I know that people opposed our marriage because they were really afraid that I might break him and that my anger would be his undoing. And they had really good reason to be afraid, because I did have ready to roll every single tool I needed to destroy him. I had insecurity, criticism, rage, contempt. I was blanketed in selfishness. I was exactly the sort of person who would have pointed the finger, trashed him to everybody, just so that I could feel a little better about me. And I would have done that had it not been for the words of that wise woman that rang in my ear year after year, saving me from ruining my marriage and stopping me from destroying this lovely man. And this lovely man, he's not stupid, he's not blind, he knows all my faults, and if he were to want to criticise me, he could have a field day every day. There's so much to criticise, yet he has never battered me with his words. He has instead repaired me with them. Jack London said that true love doesn't come from finding the perfect person, but by learning to see an imperfect person perfectly. Now, I have a little secret. He's not perfect either. He can be all sorts of annoying, though generally you wouldn't hear that from me. For the most part, all I say about him is this: I married an angel. And you, having heard he's an angel, when you meet him, you'll be expecting one. And if you're looking for an angel, you'll find one. Our trouble is that we're human, we don't look for angels. We love looking for shit. There is something about us that just loves to notice what people do wrong, what our friends, our family, our partners, our children, our parents don't do, and all the many, 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 many ways they let us down. And then we criticise, complain, gossip, blame, and while we're doing that, we're blind to that glimpse of white feather, or the shot of light in the darkness, and the many, 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 many kindnesses that come our way each day. If we decide to use words that repair, to look for good, to overlook some of the shit in each other, then we get a chance to create angels. And I know this is true because it's happened to me. You know, I've experienced it, but I also know it's true because in the last few years, the biggest lesson I've been learning, probably the biggest lesson I've ever learned, is that in the end, in life and in each other, we find what we look for. And I have a quick postscript because stories need happy endings. Last December, we celebrated 35 years of ridiculously happy marriage, so we won the bet. And a few years ago, not very long before she died, my aforementioned girlfriend, the lovely Donna, had this to say to me: I should never have told you to marry him. I should have married him myself. Thank you.